Hi, my name is Corey Schwartzman. I'm the Executive Director here at Transformed Hearts Counseling Center here in Colorado Springs. In this video clip in the Winning Series, I want to talk about recovery tools. And there's four main ones I want to talk about today. So the first one is what we call victory meetings. This is in our workbooks, Into the Light and Ashes to Beauty. You should be able to see this outlined on the video here. But the victory meeting concept is to sit down once a week for maybe 30 to 60 minutes and talk about how things are going with you and your spouse. So rather than every night sharing what you're struggling with before bed like my wife and I did for years, we encourage just sit down, just have a quick check-in with each other, limited to once a week. And we found it to be very helpful. So in the victory meeting, there's several things you can do. You can check in with your dailies. It's almost like you're having your own mini meeting. And at times, this is also a good time to ask tough questions with each other, for each other. Are you struggling with any temptations? It's great to share that you are with your spouse, so he or she knows how to support you and pray for you, encourage you. So things like how are we doing on our dailies? How are we doing on our dates? Who has the next date? And the sexual agreement. These are the main things to share during the victory meeting. You can share what recovery work you're working on. How's your step work going? Depending on the couple, generally one of the things I teach is not right or wrong necessarily to think, but think in terms of what's wise or foolish. Generally couples, I do encourage, it's per couple basis. It's often a wise thing to share with your spouse, especially if you're an addict or an anorexic, what kind of recovery work you're doing in your workbooks. So she can see that progress you're making. And it's a great opportunity to connect, share with each other, count your victories. Hey, I made 5 phone calls this week, for example. Let's celebrate that because I haven't made any in 3 weeks. So those types of things is the idea of the victory meeting. Next I want to talk about timeout plan. Sometimes you're going to get into some heated discussions with your spouse and you're not prepared on how to bring resolution to that. So one of the tools we encourage in this tool, the recovery tool, is a timeout plan. And you're going to sit down in a time of peace and share with each other, get this set up so you know the rules of engagement, so it's not just all of a sudden timeout. You can call a timeout and your spouse doesn't know what's going on. So you got to sit down and talk about it in a time of peace to be used during an argument or what I call a time of war. So how it works is you're going to talk about who can call a timeout. What's a timeout going to look like? Is it going to be like a basketball timeout? Is it going to be just say, hey, I need a timeout? Can you call a timeout when you feel threatened and your spouse is angry, even though your spouse doesn't think he or she is angry? Are you going to respect when your spouse calls a timeout? How long is the timeout going to be? I generally encourage 20, 30, 60 minutes. Okay. Where are you going to go? Each of you, if you will, to your separate corners. Okay, maybe she'll go to the bedroom, he'll go to the garage. My only rule for this is don't go driving and don't be drinking alcohol. Okay, and don't mix the two. Okay, during the timeout plan, it's a good time to make a phone call to some other person in recovery. If you're a woman, call another woman in recovery. If you're a man, call another man in your recovery group. 20, 30 minutes is up. Where are we going to meet? Maybe the kitchen table, okay, and continue this discussion. Now, as a side note, during the timeout plan, we've developed the other tool is what we call the 10-minute argument worksheet, okay. And in this, you sit down and talk about, in your timeout, you do 3 main things. First of all, you're in your timeout and you identify, okay, what am I feeling? Okay, without blaming my spouse, what am I feeling? And also, what is the problem? Without blaming my spouse, what is the problem? Number 2, what am I feeling? And then finally, number 3, what are some of the possible solutions to this problem? Okay, now let's say my timeout buzzer goes off, 30 minutes is up. Now I'm going to share my steps 1, 2, and 3 with my spouse. And we're going to combine the possible solution list. Okay. Now these solutions may be very simple and basic and practical to solutions that are very maybe far out there. Maybe you have a combined list of 7 or 8, and then you get to vote on it. Okay. And the one with the highest vote, 1 through 7, let's say, you each get to vote, is the winner, and then you date it and sign it. Okay. And we've had now our argument. This is the resolution, and we both agreed on it. Okay. So that's a tool you can use during your timeout plan. Last but not least, I want to talk about the separation agreement. Now, sometimes couples, we like to say separation is actually a quicker road to reconciliation. So separation doesn't always have to be out of the house. It might be in-house separation, separate bedrooms, okay? Those are different options you may have. In the separation agreement, you get to talk about how long is this agreement going to be? What are things he's going to work on? What are things she's going to work on? What are we going to work on together? If you have kids, you'll need to discuss childcare, mortgage payments, car payments, who pays what bills, income, cash flow, these sorts of things. Maintenance on the house, and then finally, what does reconciliation look like? Maybe a polygraph's required to allow him or her to come back into the house. Maybe it's just for a period of 60 days, 90 days. And then finally, you may need a third party involved to have full reconciliation. It could be a therapist, a pastor, a sponsor, some other safe person in recovery. So those are 3 recovery tools: the victory meeting, the timeout plan, the 10-minute argument, and the separation agreement. We are also coming out with more tips and tools in the 301 recovery tips, so be on the lookout for that. It'll be out here in the next few months. It's going to be an awesome resource as well.